Hey guys, it is Kevin here in Japan, and I just wanted to make a video talking to you about bugs, insects. Um, I love bugs, guys. I do. It's an addiction. I realized I had a problem several months ago when on a Friday night, I told this to my coworkers on a Monday morning, I got a 6-pack of beer, and I sat at home, alone in my computer room, drinking beer. The whole night I watched documentaries about hornets, and videos about hornets. Pretty bad, huh? No, but honestly, guys, no, I'm really fascinated with insects. I'm an armchair entomologist. I often say to people that if I could do it all over again, if I could be in high school again, I would apply to a science program, a university as opposed to liberal arts, and I would go into entomology, and I would become a scientist and hopefully, research about different insects and how they affect maybe crop yields in different countries, and how we can help farmers deal with pests and this and that, and understanding the nature of different invasive species and whatnot. That's what I would do now, or if I could go back in time. I wasn't always this way though. So those who know me, even at my school, my elementary school, I work at an international school. I'm known as the bug guy. So if there's ever anything weird that's found or discovered, people always bring it to me, come to me, ask me to come to see it and identify it, or teach them about it. Other teachers ask me to come and look at the bugs, and it's cool. I really like it. But it's a lot of fun, especially when you discover something new and interesting that you don't know about, to learn about it, to investigate, to discover. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't always like this. I grew up in Eastern Canada, and in Canada, aside from like hornets, bugs can't hurt you. Bugs don't hurt you. We don't have dangerous bugs. I mean, you see fuzzy caterpillars. We'd pick up fuzzy caterpillars and pet them and play with them and cuddle them. And also very short, mild summers. So bugs never got big. A centipede would never be more than like a centimeter long. The only thing that we had that could hurt you were, we had honeybees, we had yellow jackets and bumblebees. And honeybees and bumblebees are pretty benign, to be honest. They're not dangerous. They keep to themselves and they mind their own business unless you mess with them. Because if a bee stings you, it's only got one chance and then it dies. Hornets, on the other hand, hornets are vicious. We had hornets and wasps. We had like yellow jackets. And for many years I was actually quite traumatized by bugs, because as a young child, growing up in Nova Scotia, Canada, I was playing hide and seek one day with my friends in the forest, because I was definitely a rural boy, a hick boy, a country boy. And the forest was our playground, so I had no fear of like nature. I grew up in nature. I grew up in the forest, building lean-tos in the forest and campfire. I think I could build a fire when I was probably 5 years old. I knew the difference between tinder and kindling and how to make a fire, and but I was playing hide and seek with my friends, and I remember I was hiding. I crawled into this like thick brush, and I was hiding. I crawled down on my hands and knees, and I was hiding. And when one of my friends ran by, I jumped up. My head hit something, and I remember two things. I remember hearing this deafening buzzing sound. I'm having a drink right now, by the way. And I remember feeling searing white hot pain in my ears. Specifically my ears I remember hurting. And then I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran as fast as I could. And right around that time, so I was in elementary school, I was probably like 7, 8 years old. There was a group of high school kids coming home from school. And as I was running, screaming, with this buzzing sound all around my head, there were high school kids chasing after me, trying to swat the hornets away from me as I was being swarmed. So I was being swarmed, and I don't remember very much more than that. I think I've really blocked it out of my mind, out of my psyche. But my father just remembers picking stingers out of my face and my ears and my head with tweezers later that night and stuff, and my head being really swollen. They took me to the doctor and stuff, and they had to ice me a lot. And after that, I was really frightened of bugs for many years, up until my adult life. Fast forward, I moved to Japan in 2008. I'm a teacher, and I was a kindergarten teacher for my first many years here in Japan. Homeroom teacher. A few things happened. I discovered very quickly that fuzzy caterpillars in Japan are dangerous. If it's fuzzy, you don't touch it. because it's got venom. Well, it's got poison, I should say. It's got poison in its hair, in their hairs, most of them. I had an incident where I was teaching one little boy who just came screaming. We were out in the park one day, and he just came, we're at a playground, he came running up to me screaming incoherently. He couldn't even speak in his native language of Japanese, and he's screaming to me, and the Japanese teacher holding his hand. He's like, ah! And we didn't know what was going on, and he was just like crying and screaming, saying his hand hurt. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. We're like, show us, you gotta show us, what happened? And he took us up to this hill where there was a metal railing, and he pointed, and there was a bright green fuzzy caterpillar laying on the ground, and he said he touched it. So I went home and I did a bit of research, and on the internet, quite a bit of research, and I discovered that we had to take him back to school. We didn't know what was going on. We had to ice his hand. We brought him to the doctor, iced his hand, and I learned that it was something called a nettle caterpillar, which is very dangerous, especially for a little kid. I mean, it won't kill you or anything, but it can cause a lot of pain and discomfort. And then I had an encounter myself just last year with a black caterpillar. I was riding my bicycle and I brushed against a tree, and this caterpillar, and I didn't know what it was in the beginning, touched my arm. And then a few meters later, riding my bicycle, I feel a searing pain in my forearm, and I look down and I see this red bubble forming. I'm like, and I get home, and the pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse, burning pain in my forearm, and it was just this long bubble forming. I'm like, was this a caterpillar? I'm suspecting it's a caterpillar. I went back to the spot near my place where I brushed against this tree, and sure enough, there was a bunch of these black hairy caterpillars everywhere. And I found it, and then for about a week after that, it itched so much. It felt like I had 1,000 mosquito bites in one spot. Awful. So, another thing that made me very interested in bugs was a few years ago when I was a kindergarten teacher. Being dumb, I didn't know any better. A couple of my students were like, Mr. O'Shea, we found some cool bugs. I'm like, oh, go grab them and bring them and show them to me. They brought these bugs to me, and all of a sudden the kids were like, ow, it hurts. I realized that they were called sashigame in Japanese. Assassin bugs, which are they're shield bugs, have an extremely painful bite. They actually have like a proboscis, this like straw-like thing that they poke into your skin, and they shoot this saliva that, like, normally when they like bite another bug, or they poke like a caterpillar, and this like liquefies the insides of their victim or their prey, and then they drink it. But I just started reading more and more about bugs, and buying Japanese bug books, and using translators, and spending a lot of time on Wikipedia, and then just reading about other bugs, and I became more and more interested. And what I learned is that the more knowledge I gained about insects, the more I learned about their behavior, their nature, the way they do things, why they do things, I stopped being afraid of them. There was no fear, just fascination. I wanted to know more and more and more. Why do they act this way? A lot of people think bees are dangerous, for example. I've learned bees are absolutely benign. If you're calm around bees, bees will be calm around you. If you're relaxed around bees, bees will be relaxed around you. Honeybees just want to collect nectar and pollen. That's all they want to do. They're not going to... I mean, I've walked here in Japan, I've walked through a giant field of clover, flowers, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of bees wearing shorts, and I didn't get stung even once. I've done that many times. Because if you're not bothering them, they won't bother you. I didn't know that before as a kid. You're like, oh, bees dangerous. Now, of course, in Japan there was something called the Osuzumebachi, or the giant Asian hornet. Now those are they're jerks, guys. They're the jerks of the bug world. They just go around, they're like robots. They go around just like killing stuff, causing pain and suffering. That's all they are good for. There's no place in the world for them, I don't think. Well, I guess there is a place. Because, for example, when you look at invasive species, there's a bug here called the brown marmorated stink bug. It's a common bushy stink bug. Very common here. But they've recently, I think in 2012, came to Canada, the province of Ontario, and now they're a huge problem as an invasive species, destroying crops. Whereas here in Japan, the Osuzumebachi tend to lay a lot of them to waste. So you see Osuzumebachi, the giant hornets, do have a place. But let's say this is knowledge I've gained, and it's really interesting, it's really fascinating. And I was chatting online with Russ about this. Russ is you might know him from the Kitty Does Japan channel, Catherine's husband, and he's recently become really into bugs, and he's taking some really cool pictures of bugs, and he's recently become fascinated, kind of like I did a few years ago, which is really cool. I've got an armchair entomologist friend, which I like. So Russ, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, bugs, they're good. I gotta start sending more links and resources your way. Russ, I'll start emailing you or sending you some things on Messenger, cool links to things. Yeah, there's a really amazing video. It was a BBC documentary about giant hornets on YouTube a while ago, but it's gone now. It's been pulled down. But I'd love to get it. If I can get a link to that again, I'll send that to you. Yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to tell you guys about my love affair with bugs. Why I find them so interesting. And you probably know too. I'm into birds as well. I'm an armchair ornithologist. I've got my Facebook page, Birds of Kansai. That's fun. More than anything, it gets me outside, and it's nature photography, wildlife photography. That's something I'm becoming really interested in. And I think if I become more serious about it, I'm definitely gonna have to upgrade my camera. Or not my camera, but my lens. Get a better zoom lens. Because it's for me, so talk to ya.